Hi and welcome or welcome back. A while ago I bought a thing and it's so big it doesn't even fit into the frame. These are the Karin Decoart brush markers, which are acrylic brush markers, and this is the set of 60 colors. An artist that I quite like on Instagram used these to paint some cherries. And when I saw the result, I immediately wanted to buy them. The thing is that this set is quite expensive. It usually goes for 180 euros. I managed to get it on sale for 120, but each of these individual sets in here go for 40 euros a piece. So this is quite an investment. The little error here is the little booklet. And to my surprise, it's labeled in German on the inside. I think that lately I've bought a lot of things off Amazon where no one bothered to translate it into German anymore, or at least not correct German, so this was a nice surprise. It gives you advice on how to restore these markers, how to clean the nibs, how to get an even application of paint, how to blend these or get a gradient effect, and other useful tips. So this set of 60 I felt included a really nice range. It starts with the basic colors and then you get passion colors, mostly reds and pinks. Then you get violet and blues, nature colors which look like they would be good for trees and mountains, and then nude colors which could potentially be used for portraits. And you can see all of the colors that are included on the outside, and as a nice detail, the name Decoart is also written on the outside of each box with the colors that are included on the inside. So this nature one is labeled in green. Each of these boxes is a little magnetic, and when you open it up, you will see stickers, and the lid has like a swatch sheet on the inside as well as advice. The little swatch area in each set basically includes the standard configuration of these sets. You get the names of the markers as well as their numbers. And the sticker sheets are basically the exact same, except that you can move them between the sets if you want to move any markers into a different set or rearrange the order of them. On the right side you will find the advice to turn the box upside down after using the markers to refresh them. And here you can see the markers, don't they look lovely? I'm not sure how well you can tell, but these are slightly at an angle. This is meant to support them while they're in storage so that they will not dry out. In my opinion, this is really smart to include the proper way of storing these markers with them. Now here is the sticker sheet that I mentioned before. You get one of these in each of the individual boxes, and it says customization kit. So these are basically the same as inside the lid of the box, but you can glue them over the swatches in other boxes if you end up moving the markers. The two longer stickers on top are intended so that you can tape over the name of the box and the colors on the outside, and you can put a new swatch of the markers that you put into each set on the outside. The sticker with the dotted line will simply go over the name of the box. I think this is a fantastic idea. I've never seen a company or brand do this before, but I really like this. Now I'm going to show you each of these individual sets. These are the basic colors. Again, you get the sticker sheet on the inside. This is a really important set because you get white and black. In terms of color selection, this looks very balanced to me. And the name on the outside reflects the colors that are on the inside. Up next are the passion colors, mostly reds, pinks, and a bit of purple. So these would probably be great for flowers or something like that. The set here, as the name indicates, contains violet and blue colors. Note the color of the name on the outside of the box again. These start with very pale blue and turquoise markers and go up to very dark purple. I think in one of these markers the paints had started to separate, so it looks a little red, but this didn't cause any problems. So Nature Colors is a really lovely set. Range of greens, a bit of yellow and earth colors, a bit of orange. And finally there's Nude Colors, which looks like a range of skin tones to me, or yellows to earth tones. By the way, the label on the outside matches the order that these colors are in. So far so good. Let's take a look at the markers themselves. These come with a little clip so you can attach them to stuff, and they also won't roll off the table. These also include the color name and number. And it says on each marker, opaque color system, acrylic permanent ink, flexible brush tip. These markers are also water-based, non-toxic, they are suitable for most surfaces, and they allow for easy color blending. We also get some advice on how to use these. You're supposed to shake them before using them, store them horizontally, and put the cap on after you're done. As you can see here, you can also tell how much paint is left in the barrel because a portion of it is transparent, as well as the bottom of the marker. I was curious how similar they would be to my Karin brush markers, which are water-based markers. I use these for calligraphy and hand lettering. They look exactly the same to me in terms of size, and they both have the sticker with the color name on the cap. And I don't know why I'm not holding them up together, but the brush tips look very similar between these two markers. Next, I also wanted to compare them to my Tooli-Art Acrylic Markers. These are a bit more of the classic acrylic marker pens that most people will be familiar with. The Tooli-Art markers seem slightly thinner, but also a little bit longer. So the nib here on the Tooli-Art markers is the fine nib. They also have a slightly wider one. You need to shake these and pump them in order to get the paint flowing. Here you can see the difference in size between the two nibs, and of course the brush markers will offer greater flexibility when it comes to your line weight. Whereas non-brush markers are not going to have a big variety in how thick or thin your lines are. I have reviewed the Tooli-Art markers extensively in another video, so let's continue with a swatch of the Karin acrylic brush pens. I'm swatching these on some Hahnemühle bamboo paper. This is a mixed media paper. And I put a line of black marker on top to test how opaque these are. I'm swatching each set at a time, and towards the end I put down the markers next to the swatch to see if the caps are accurate or not. You might already notice here that some of these look a lot more watery than others. I'd say that they have a really nice range of blues, but somehow we only get a dark purple but not a very dark blue. I'm swatching the nature set here, but I was a little bit confused by the abundance of oranges in this set. I found a lot of the caps here to be inaccurate. And the last one here was the nude set. I think the caps look a bit darker than most of these colors, and the ochre one is actually rather green in person, which confused me a bit. So here are all of the colors. I would say that they have a surprising amount of oranges in here, or peach colors. And I'm sort of missing a very dark blue or even a very dark brown. There's still quite a gap between the darkest browns here and the black. Some of these are a lot more watery than others, such as the red lilac and the pale violet. I was also very surprised that my white pen picked up the black marker, which is not supposed to be possible because that one is a permanent marker. I also felt that we got a couple of colors that look very close to each other, such as the red and the fire red. And then we get all of these kind of similar oranges. We also get some overlap between the browns, like the copper brown and cocoa are here, and the colors below them look very similar. And then we get the two soft peaches here, which are kind of similar, and two very similar almond and blush colors. And I'm also beginning to notice here how inconsistent these are on top of my black marker swatches. Especially the lighter colors are not really opaque. But first I wanted to put these in a proper order based on the color families, so I tried to use the customization kit and arrange these in sort of a rainbow. Now the paper for these stickers is sort of plasticky, and the markers seem to slide over it, so they appeared super streaky and also didn't quite cover the black part of the stickers that well. My biggest surprise was when I came to the black marker, which looked terrible. But at this point I was still extremely excited about these markers, and I carried on with customizing my set, including the outsides of these boxes. Now we are finally getting to a couple of swatches and speed paintings, and it did not go according to plan. I had chosen a light grey paper because these were supposed to be opaque. These markers were simply too transparent for this kind of paper. At some point I used some acrylic gouache to help out, but it only helped to a certain degree. It was still a streaky mess. And I found the color selection to be difficult, especially because I didn't really have proper shadow colors. Things got even worse when I decided to paint the background and I just couldn't blend these markers. But this also isn't the best kind of paper, so I decided to abandon this particular subject and work my way through my paper collection. Next up I tried one of these art kits from Mossery. This is 100% cotton watercolor paper, and it's actually meant to be used with acrylic markers in this set. And at first I thought this is it, I was just using the wrong paper, and then it turned into a streaky mess again, and I couldn't even cover up the pre-printed lines on this paper. So watercolor paper was also a no. So I tried some marker paper. This is also from a Mossery art kit, and this is what I've painted in it with the Tooli-Art Acrylic Markers. And somehow this was even worse. I couldn't get these markers to be opaque, and I also couldn't blend them very well. They never managed to cover the pre-printed lines, and you can see how streaky they are. So I abandoned this as well. These are my regular acrylic markers on top and the Karin brush markers on the bottom here. Next I decided to give these another try on my mixed media paper. This is the same paper that I swatched these on, and it's Hahnemühle's bamboo paper. I thought maybe I had just chosen the wrong subject. When I discovered these markers, the other artist used them to paint cherries. So I figured if I paint something that has more mid-tones and maybe some dark colors, I could be fine. I would say that this turned out okay. The markers dried relatively fast, so I had to be very quick in order to blend them. I love the brush tip, but the lighter markers are just very useless, especially the white one. As a result, what I've painted with these simply doesn't have a good value range of lights to midtones to darks. Especially the highlights and lighter colors are lacking. You can also see here that some of these markers were a bit more liquidy, like the red spot on the right side here. Overall it's fine, but it's really not ideal for realistic art. In between I ran into some problems with individual markers seemingly not closing properly. This marker is closed, it just doesn't feel like it. As a last attempt, I wanted to see if I could paint a portrait with these markers, especially because one of the sets is called Nude, so I figured it might be intended for that. The lighter markers aren't very visible on this tan paper. I think the darker markers worked better. The problem was that I couldn't cover anything up here with the lighter markers, so any darker lines were there to stay. Any of the larger areas, such as the cheeks or her hair, turned into a streaky mess as well. Since I prefer to paint smooth skin, I don't think I'll be using these again for portraits. In some ways it feels like you're working with watercolors in the sense that I had to preserve my lighter colors. At the same time, this is not what I expected at all coming from regular acrylic markers. But I have to say, the other company that I've tried so far for acrylic markers was Tooli-Art, and I saw that they also have acrylic brush markers now, and the reviews seem to indicate that these also have problems with dryness and streakiness and opacity. The same seems to go for a couple of other brands where I've seen videos online of acrylic brush markers. So I don't think that what I've experienced here is necessarily limited to Karin's brush markers. I think it's more an issue of trying to get acrylic paint to work with brush markers. Also, your own style is going to matter. I disliked the range of values that I could get from this set, and even though I had purchased one of the larger sets, I felt limited by the color selection. But I also didn't do any research about these markers or read any reviews beforehand, so that is completely on me. I will say that I find them overpriced for the quality of these markers, especially the lighter ones and the white. I got these on sale for 125 euros instead of 185 euros. And that is just too much, even with the nice box and customization. Speaking of customization, the glue on these stickers also doesn't seem too good because they are constantly about to fall off. I think this is because of the design of the boxes. The stickers are attached to the bottom side of the lids, so they are constantly hanging upside down, and they require stronger glue for this. To be completely honest with you, I don't know what I'll be using these markers for in the future. I've done 2 sketches where I used them to add a splash of color, and the positive side is that they do not bleed through the paper even if it's thinner paper. At the same time, the value range is just not there, so I added a couple of hatching lines with a black marker, and I used a gel pen for white highlights and hairs. To sum this entire video up, I can say that I love the concept of these markers, but not the execution. Have you ever been absolutely excited about an art supply and then not been happy with it once you tried it out? I would love to hear your stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.